Hello, I'm Kid Scrivener. Hello and welcome to my channel, and I'm going to retroactively make this a 5 Dark Fates vlog because I have so many feelings and I need to express them, and I was gonna put them in my other vlog, but they're just taking up way too much time. I believe it's gonna be spoiler 3. I'll warn you before I go into any things. I'm going to try to be as non-specific while discussing things as possible. If you're very sensitive to spoilers, I probably wouldn't go into it, but um, yeah, I'll try not to spoil things in general. This is the inclusion of the Three Dark Crowns series, and it's a series that I have an interesting relationship with. I was very, very stoked going into it. The idea of these three, Slytherin queens fighting to the death sounds wonderful. To me, it's not that, though. To me, it's a story where everyone is either, over dramatically, comically dark, and or they're just, people that are raised to kill each other should not have this much compassion. Maybe that's a really harsh thing to say, but it's just so frustrating. And also, when I finished the second book and realized it said the Queen of Fenburns will return, I started screaming and yelling at the book. Because I was like, this is going to be one book where you have one story where the queens, three queens fight to the death. Okay, it's a duology, but still, at least two of the girls should be dead by the end of book 1. You know how many queens are left in book 4? I won't spoil it for you, but too many. Too many queens are alive in book 4. It's frustrating. Drives me insane. Anyways, with that saying, I find it very, very compelling because I want to know how to make it work. I think it's such an interesting premise. I adore it. I love it. It's amazing. And yet, yeah. So, you get to follow my thoughts on here, and good luck, and hopefully there'll be lots of ranting. Yay! So we are beginning this slightly problematic part of the vlog. So pretty much, how do I say this without being a spoiler? There is a character that had a bounding thing, which in this world means that you pretty much bind someone in order to share the burden of different things. And there's a person that needs a binding spell. And because they need the binding spell, currently they are unconscious and have been for a little while. Meanwhile, one of the characters who's their very good friend is I'm gonna take the binding. But then another character is hey, I actually want to take the binding. And the friend is you don't really know them that much. It has to be a close relationship. And she's like, yeah, well, I'm kind of in love with her, so let me take the binding. And then the friend is like, does this person know you're in love with them? And they're like, no, I haven't told them, but I'll tell them when they wake up from their curse thing. But I really want to do the binding because my love is sufficient for this thing. Which is, and then we go on this long thing about talking about how, severe the thing, and that the fact that they will always be bound for the rest of their lives. Which, is problematic because, first of all, they don't have a strong enough relationship based on my knowledge of the third book to say this. They're friends. They're not lovers. And also, canonically, this character has been in a very significant relationship that they lost recently and is only confirmed to be straight. They've only engaged in relationships with opposite gendered people. So we don't even know if they're bisexual or pansexual or even attracted to women, besides being in love with this individual person. So you'll be like, hey, I'm just gonna bind you to me for the rest of your life, and you've got no choice about it. That's got some consent issues in there. That is manipulation and coercion from someone who is not able to consent to this. And even if they had, already, they would probably, even if they were in love with this person, would probably feel more comfortable being bound to someone that they have known and trust with their life, that they have a well-developed relationship, versus we haven't even started a relationship, but I have feelings for you, so we're gonna bound you. What about in if you even like each other, but then you start dating and then you're like, oh no, we're not getting on, but we're bound by this for the rest of our lives. That's problematic. go with the person that, like, you've already sworn your life to and you have a really, really close relationship with. Just do that, okay? Please? Thank you. Get rid of the murky consent issues. I really have liked this character before. Just chill down. Listen to some reason. Someone's like, maybe we can, like, not do this. Don't fly off the handle. This is not making me feel comfortable at all. Like, wouldn't it be so awkward if she just wakes up and is like, yeah, I'm not into you, and we were great friends, but, like, now we have to deal with the fact that you're tethered to a person who you have unrequited love for. That sounds like purgatory. Don't do it. Not healthy. And your obsessiveness with it is making me just very angry and, like, frustrated and, like, creeped out. Like, are you a villain? Are you going to start killing people? Because I can believe it now. We also just remembered the thing that I also hated about this that I just can't get past. So, I literally feel tension in my chest from anger. Should not be emotionally involved with not liking it. So, they spent their first 5 years, like, living together, before being given to, like, different fractions, families, whatever, to be raised from their different elemental gifts and poisoner gifts and nature gifts. Yep, those are those. And the Oracle people are drowned, so none of those. But, like, Mirabella constantly just refers back to the time before they were 5. She'll be like, this very specific thing. Like, I'm pretty sure everything I remember before age 5 is because I've seen pictures of it. Like, not all, but, like, there's a few little grasps of things. But you don't remember that much detailed stuff. Like, it's not realistic. Stop. It's making me angry and frustrated. And, like, dwelling so much on something that happened when you were so little. And it doesn't even make sense for Mirabella, because she arguably has, like, the best upbringing. Like, Arsenal also doesn't have the worst, but, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Mirabella probably wins the award for, like, the best upbringing, so it doesn't make sense that she's the one so focused on it. Maybe that's saying that she's compassionate, but she didn't really raise to be compassionate. I just don't understand. Now we have a totally different character making out with someone who's in a coma. First of all, there's too many people in this book that are in comas. And there's too many people not knowing consent. At least the couple is, like, is a couple, but, like, yeah, maybe, like, have a light, chaste kiss on, like, the cheek, maybe the lips when someone's unconscious. You're already a couple, but, like, don't start making out with them. That's just weird. No. Consent is important. Kendare Blake, please. Hello. So if you're not familiar with the history and the lore of this, and you haven't thought about it too much because you don't think about it, it makes more sense. So pretty much you have the Isle of Fenrir, which is kind of hinted to be in our world, but obscured by the mist and, like, all of this beautifulness, because not people from the mainland don't quite believe it exists, but I'm not sure if it's high fantasy. It's a totally different world with just similar isms, but we don't know. Pretty much, they grow up. At 16, they have to fight their other 2 sisters that are also queens for the throne, and then they marry a guy from the mainland, and that serves alliances or something, and then they have kids. And when they have their 3 triplets, they immediately die, and the cycle continues. The issue in a land with not probably good birth control, unless they're abstaining, they probably only have a few years in between when they ascend and when they're ruling, which means you have, like, giving it a generous, like, 5 years. And then you have 17 years with no ruler. And then you have, like, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever, with a ruler. And, like, it goes on, and it's just like, this is not a sustainable way to rule. It would make more sense if you had a land where the first task was to kill the mother. And this is very vile, but, like, it works in the system of the one. It would make sense for them to kill her mother. It would be, like, a kind of proof of heirship of like, we are able to overcome the woman that came before us, right? And that's kind of the whole thing between the three of them anyway. So it would make sense to have Mother included that, and then they would have a sustainable government for those 17 years. Because otherwise it's just run by the Black Council and also the families, which at that point, why did they bother with the queens? Like, yes, there's the god of heritage and stuff like that, but is that really worth it? All the instability of those years of not having the power, it just makes more sense that, like, why would they not overthrow? And that's like the thing. If a country is weak and is susceptible to these things, why would not a revolution have happened before? Or why wouldn't have someone just taken over completely? Or is it just that they're hiding behind the puppet makes it easier? I don't know, but I don't think this government is sustainable. So apparently I lied. It's not that they actually die, it's that they go to the mainland to retire when their babies are infants. Why? That's even worse than them just magically dying. Like, they're just having them abandoned. Plus, they have to leave their home that they care about and ruled for so long. It's like, this does not make logical sense. Just have a fight, you know? It's great. Apparently, also, she had 16 years. So, and it's like a gift of goddess, so maybe they can't get impregnated without the consent of a being, which is also slightly concerning. Your kindness is so frustrating. Stop being so trusting and stop being like, but I'll make excuses for everyone. It's not helping. It's not helping. You're gonna get screwed. You've been screwed before. And just stop, okay? Stop being so nice. Not everyone deserves a second chance in a world where they're trying to kill you, okay? Just cool off. Kill a few people and the world will be better. That is like the brutalest thing I've ever said. I mean this in a completely fictional way. I find it very interesting because I'm like such a fan of being like, just kill them. But like not in real life. Okay? I'm not crazy. So I'm finished 5 Dark Fates. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. It didn't go the way that I thought it was going to, and yet I still don't like it. I just think that it felt really unnecessary. I'm not going to like spoil it. I'll go into some spoilers afterwards. But in the last chapter, there's a conversation that's like, what is the purpose of all of this? It was like, for the fight. And I was like, does the fight really justify all of 4 books worth of things? Like, I don't think that it needed to be 4 books, okay? Like, it just really did not. And now I'm going to go into the spoilers. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hope you're gone. Mirabella and Katarine both still die. Arsenar is the person who ascends, who I didn't want Arsenar to ascend. Maybe I did in the first book. I can't remember. It's been a while. But, like, I just didn't think that Arsenar was the person that deserved to rule. Like, I could see Katarine redeemed, or, well, no. I would have preferred Katarine be, like, a violent tyrant and take over and actually rule and have, like, that. Or Mirabella be a queen for good. Instead, is Jules ruling? That wasn't even familiar to me. Like, okay, and the whole thing with Billy just does not make sense. So first of all, you have him like, I need to go back to the mainland. So then he just like waves goodbye. And then like, I don't know how long after the epilogue was, and it was just like, okay, we're going to go find him and bring him back. Didn't he just say, like, if he could have come back, did he just need to talk to his parents for a little while? Because like, he could have just waited a little bit before he went and talked to his mom and then like had that. You have 4 books to happen. What could it, like, a lot of the middle stuff, just, I don't think it mattered. Like, why did you bring in, like, Daphne and Ilium and all of them if, like, they really didn't become important in the end? And, like, Mirabella's and Katrine's deaths both felt so, like, undeserving. You know what I mean? Like, I would have preferred their deaths at different times. Mirabella, like, I wasn't even sure she was dead at first. Like, so the queens took over Katarine, and Katarine kills her. And I was like expecting her to still be alive, but no, she's just dead. And it was just very unceremonious, I guess, after this time. Like, you have so much built up into the thing, and then you get there, and she's trying to kill her. And like, I would have preferred if Arsenar had have killed her, but instead you have the queens almost take Arsenar, and then like everything's pretty much solved, and then Katarine jumps in front of her and gets hauled down this cliff to die. Dramatic. Like, couldn't have we just had them kill each other? Yeah, that whole ending, like, the whole 3rd book was pretty much rendered useless because all of that build up with Mirabella and Arsinoe doesn't pay off because Mirabella dies. And all of that stuff with Katarine, like, she also dies. So it's like you spent 3.5 books preserving people whose lives shouldn't have been preserved, and then you had them die anyways, and not even in a dramatic way. Like, the point was that they were going to get rid of the queens. Could have they not just had the queens stay then? Like, I just, like, the cool thing is, like, I would love a sequel series when we are exploring, like, how this place manages after, a millennium of having 3 triplet queens, and then you also have the fact that, like, you have them open to the mist so the mainlands can see them now. Or, like, also have a story with Katarina and, like, Katarine and Mirabella bears her twins. Like, that would have been cool. Or triplets, sorry. Like, that would have been cool. But, like, instead, you just have all of them die, and Narcissa is not even queen, and it's just like, but is Jules queen? Like, that's not really clarified. It's like she's never worn a crown, but they call her queen. So who's running it? Is just the Black Council? Because the Black Council doesn't feel like they're doing a whole lot. Peter's story is very interesting as well. The Katarina I have. I think I liked the fact that he turned. I just wish there was more nuance and development in that conversation, and I did think it was heartbreaking that. And the scene where he helps set Mirabella's bones was actually really emotional. But, like, all in all, I think still that there should have been 2 books. One of the queens, if they wanted it to be Arsinoe, like, Mirabella should have died at the end of the first book, which wouldn't have made sense though, I guess, but, like, still, like, change some stuff, and then have Arsinoe and Katarine do it. It's just, there was a lot of things that just didn't need to be. Like, this was, I think they're all about 500 pages, so this was, like, 2,000 pages of what the promise of the story doesn't happen. I think that's the greatest thing. Like, I've heard that my Exit West is a story that I really, really love. It's by Mohsen Hamad, and it's often, like, told as a story that's a great love story. It's not a great story. It's tragic in many elements because it's about a story of these 2 teenagers who go across, are refugees and go across and are making new lives and seeing how that changes, and it's beautiful exploration of how refugee and grief and migrants and these stories of how changes people. But it's not a love story, which is why a lot of people are disappointed. This is a story that was advertised as 3 queens killing each other, and yet it doesn't really happen. Like, it does happen, but, like, the only queen that kills the other queen is possessed at the time, and the other one sacrifices herself for it after so much. Anyways, this is just me repeating the same sentiments. You might love 5 Dark Fates. I was hoping, because the first book was 3 Dark Crowns, and I gave it 3 stars because I was going to give it, like, 2, and then I really liked the end with, like, Katarine going into the Breckenham domain. I liked the fact that we find out that Arsinoe is actually a poisoner. Like, there's some cool twists there. Like, it maybe could have been 3, but 3rd book was definitely not it. They didn't need to go to the mainland. There was nothing that came from that. 2nd one I gave 1 star because, like, I was just so angry at the, like, lack of conclusiveness, and I was just, like, did not feel like a lot of that was just, like, them giving 2 good speeches out. And then the 2nd one, or 2 Dark Reigns, I gave 2 stars to because I liked the mythology and stuff, which was completely dropped in the 4th one. And I was like, maybe it'll be 5 stars the last one. No, I'm giving it a 2 stars, which is, like, the mediocre book thing. I don't think it was a necessarily bad book. It's just, I wasn't connected to the characters, I wasn't connected with the relationships, and it dragged on for way too long to do nothing. And, like, the argument that the reason why it was good is the fight, I just don't believe in. Like, I don't think that's legitimized by the story. And I will still give Kendare Blake, like, Kendare Blake, I never remember which one it is, a future sense, because I think that she can write, like, good thoughts. I just really want to see her executed well. And that's my thoughts on 5 Dark Fates. Have a great day. Happy reading writing. If you haven't before, subscribe, comment, like, and you can follow me on social media, and that will be linked below. Have a great day. Goodbye.